Gearbox has made their plans clear to remove the Cartel event once the Guardian Takedown drops, once we learn a new release date for that piece of content. This means everything barring the anointments that was introduced during that event will be removed once the takedown drops. Hey, what is going on, you guys? It's Epic here, and as you can see, I wasted no time with that intro, and that's because I want this video to come across very clear and get straight to the point and get that message across. So let me just start off by saying that for the longest of time, I think it goes without saying that everyone has felt there has been a drought of content in the Borderlands community. This is largely in part due to how well the Mayhem 2.0 update went down, which is not well at all, but we did get some good things out of the Mayhem 2.0 update, one being the Cartels event, but more specifically Villa Ultraviolet. It's very simple. You speak to Maurice, you go and get the 30 rings from anywhere that you can, and then you go to Villa Ultraviolet. You run through it, kill some bosses, and get some loot. I would go on the record and say that that experience feels the closest to a headhunter pack that any of the limited timed events excluding Bloody Harvest have felt up to this point. I think the Valentine's Day event, as you already know if you've seen my rant on that when they released it, was a terrible event. I felt like it added nothing to the game. I felt like it was a lazy attempt at filler content. I just didn't think it brought anything to the table. But like I just said, in the case of Bloody Harvest, and more specifically in the case of the Villa Ultraviolet map, I feel like this sort of content is content that I could legitimately pay money for and be really happy with what I purchased. There's something about the structure of these kind of events, but more specifically about the whole layout of it. You know, you go to this new location, you run through a map, kill some enemies, kill a boss, get some new unique loot. It's great. It's a good concept and I love it. And let me preface what I'm saying now by saying that I don't play the Villa Ultraviolet barely at all. And that could serve as a good argument for those of you who think, hey, why not remove it? I mean, no one plays it anyway, right? Well, there are some reasons that you can counteract that point, you know? There are various exclusive legendaries which only drop from the Villa Ultraviolet, like the Fish Slap Grenade, or maybe the Needle Gun, you know, just to name a few. There is a lot more, which I'm sure a bunch of you are going to point out into the comments. But the point here is that there is a lot to Villa Ultraviolet that people enjoy running it for, especially when Gearbox fixed the scaling on chests. There are a lot of good chest farms in this map, but it's not my argument. You see, the reason why I think that Villa Ultraviolet should not be removed from the game is because, at least for me, I think that Villa Ultraviolet just serves as content when you need it. For example, if I don't want to go and farm Genevieve, or if I don't want to go and do a Maliwan takedown, or if I don't want to go and do the Slaughter Shaft, I'll go and run Villa Ultraviolet. Not because I necessarily want to, but because sometimes it's just fun to run through a map, kill enemies, and kill a bunch of bosses. I just take issue with Gearbox removing things like this from the game because, at least in my mind, I feel like when you're removing content that you've worked so hard to make and you once again release for free, I just feel like it doesn't help you at all in the long run. For instance, if they release the Tinder Snowflake, or the Moxie's Wedding Day Massacre, or even something like the Water Gobbler DLC in BO2 for free and then removed it a month later, I'm pretty sure no one would remember it as much as they did. Now, right now, I don't know what Gearbox's plans are, if they're going to recycle this content and release the same thing every year for free. If that's the case, no, bad idea, that needs its own video, but I feel like just removing it as a whole right now is not a good idea. Now, even with them releasing the Guardian Takedown and releasing DLC 3, I do think that the game will be able to survive without the Villa Ultraviolet being in there. But I also think if you want to make this game as long lasting as possible, if you want to preserve the lifetime of BO3 as long as possible, you need as much playable content in there as you can get. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword here, because I'm going to tell you guys something which you're going to think isn't going to make a lot of sense, but on the other hand it will make some sense. I feel like right now in 2020, if a new player for the first time ever got onto a game like Destiny 2, they would be overwhelmed overwhelmed by the amount of content there, and it could to a degree be quite frustrating. But on the other side of that sword, I also think that once that new player gets to terms with the game and really just gets to know everything about it, they are going to love the amount of content they have at their hands when they jump into the game, especially if it's free content. This is a direction that Borderlands 3 can go in, and it won't be going in that direction if we keep removing seasonal content. And I think, in my opinion, if they don't want to keep this in the game for free, if you was to turn this around and say, hey, for $2 you can keep this permanently, I would rather pay for that than have this go away. And I know that kind of goes against what I've been saying. I know there's going to be some of you saying, well, we don't want to pay for it, why should we? We got the season pass. But I'll go on record right now and just say that just because you have the season pass does not mean you are entitled to a lifetime of free content. I've said this before and I'll say this again, your season pass does not cover them seasonal events. If Gearbox wanted to charge you for them, they would have all right to, and to be honest, I wouldn't blame them. Now, getting off the subject of paying for this content, because let's face it, I don't think that's going to happen, I want to get back on the subject of why they should not remove this from the game. I feel like it is an outright stupid idea to have so many people at Gearbox put this much effort into a piece of content, add it to the game, have it received pretty well for the most part. I mean, it was overshadowed by how Mayhem 2.0 was received, but to then remove it, it just seems like a big slap in the face. Not to the players, but to the employees that worked so hard on that piece of content. And again, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I really would like to see this stay in the game, because at least for me, it's very fun to test new builds out on, it's very fun to run through with some friends, and it's just a really enjoyable experience overall. And I think if you want to make this game last as long as Borderlands 2, and don't hit me with that shit like, hey, stop comparing it to Borderlands 2, because face it, it's always going to be compared to Borderlands 2. I feel like if you want this game to last as long as Borderlands 2 did, you cannot keep removing content like this. Now, by all means, if you want to remove the event aspect of this content and just keep the Villa Ultraviolet map, then that would be great. I would take no issue with you removing the portal from Sanctuary and just having it something that you can find in the navigator. I would take no issue if you made it so that the Cartel enemies and bosses show up nowhere else other than the Cartel map. But what I would take issue with is if you drop this content from the game as long as the weapons that came with it. I don't think that's fun. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's the right idea. Anyway, I really hope that you guys don't get angry at this video. I just wanted to voice my opinions on this situation because, again, I don't think this is a good idea. And Gearbox, if you're watching, please keep this in the game or just at least give us some more clarity on why you're removing it. But with that being said, that does it for this video. If Maya was still alive, she would want you to follow me on Twitch because I stream regularly through the week and yeah, I think you'll enjoy the streams. But with that being said, thank you for watching and have a nice day.